thank you all very much for coming on a sort of a slightly misty November, almost November morning here, October morning as well. But I think first of all we should actually sort of thank Wolfram Syndrome UK and Rachel for organising a wonderful place to go. So should we just give them a quick applause? I have to say, it looks like a very pleasant place to hold a meeting, so fantastic, that's brilliant. What I'm going to do is just briefly spend a bit of time. Okay. Just reviewing where we are with the clinical services, and I'm going to do this jointly with Professor Karen Morrison, who's very kindly come from Birmingham as well, for the adult side of the services. And I just wanted to give a bit of background about where it's come from. We've got a National Health Service, as you know, National NHS England, that funds highly specialised services separate from what you'd have in a district general hospital for particular rare conditions. And there are about 70 of these services across the country for rare conditions. And one of these services is for Wolfram Syndrome, as you know. So it's a national referral centre on the Birmingham Children's Hospital site for children and the Queen Elizabeth site for adults. And the philosophy behind it is to try and support people with the condition, their families and their carers, to have coordinated care in one place, so that all the health professionals will come and see the patient at the same time or on the same over the same 2 days, rather than the person having to go around 8 different separate hospital appointments in the NHS. The idea is to try and address all the aspects, including genetic, psychological, medical issues and other surgical issues as well, and eye conditions, but also, most importantly, to try and link with the local teams to try and provide advice about what we know about the condition and support, and share information about rare conditions where lots of people don't know so much. So now there are 4 children's clinics a year, 4 adult clinics a year now, and we've currently got 1 outreach clinic which is going to happen in Manchester this year, in December, for children, at Manchester Children's Hospital. And hopefully we're going to extend that to other outreach clinics in subsequent years as well, if we can get the infrastructure set up to do that. So that's where it is. All of these clinics have to abide or comply with the outcomes for the whole of the National Health Service for the UK. And these are different domains that we have to try and address with the services. And they come into 5 domains, and it doesn't matter whether it's a diabetes service, an old people service, or a children's service, it's the same for every patient in the NHS. So all these services have to try and help premature death, they have to try and improve quality of life for anybody who's got a chronic condition. We have to try and help people recover from episodes of ill health and get better quicker. We want to try and provide a positive experience of the National Health Service, and we want to try and treat people and prevent them from getting into harm, so keeping the care safe at the same time. And whatever service in the health service that you take part in, we have to try and address these 5 domains as part of that. So that's the same for everybody. So at the moment, the Wolfram Multidisciplinary Service, what we're trying to do is to coordinate care to try and maintain a good quality of life, or as good a quality of life as we can, for as long as we can, to try and make sure that the diabetes care and the sugar control is optimised as good as we can make it, and to try and make sure that kidney problems don't ensue or other things because of the DDAVP or the diabetes insipidus, so looking after that. And so in the clinics, both in adults and the children and in the local services, we're trying to screen everybody for water balance problems or diabetes insipidus every couple of years. We've developed some patient management guidelines for health professionals, which we should be updating on a 2-yearly basis. And we're trying to support Tracy's initiative in developing a patient handbook, which a number of people here have contributed to, which I think looks great as well. It's fantastic. It says on there that we're trying to screen everybody over 15 years for balance problems and neurological problems with investigations, including MRI scans. That's what the government has set us to do, but I'm pleased to say that we've been able to try and introduce that for people a lot younger than 15 years as well. And some of you young people that have come to the children's clinic know that we did these examinations with Professor Raj Gupta down as young as 5 or 6, and with Professor Morrison for the adult service. And we're beginning to get imaging and brain scans across these services too. And then what we're trying to do is to get doctors to recognise the condition sooner, because in the past, as you know, people sometimes haven't been diagnosed, or there's been a 10-year or 8-year delay in diagnosis. And what we're trying to show is that age is falling and getting better over time. So that's sort of where the challenges that the government has set us for this. So it runs as a partnership between Birmingham Children's Hospital, Queen Elizabeth Hospital, Birmingham, the Women's Hospital, and the genetics service there with the genetic testing, the Well Child Family Liaison Group, and now, of course, Wolfram Syndrome UK, which is fantastic. And each bit of this service are trying to link in with the local teams, the local doctors, New College Worcester and the Hereford College for blind people, other people where people might go, the charities, RNIB and SENSE, the general practitioners, family doctors, and most importantly, schools and higher education providers for people who are in college or young people as well, to provide them support as to what to look out for at the moment. There's a lot of people involved in these at the moment that you'll recognise, and some of the names have changed, so I'm just going to introduce some of them here. The coordinator at the Children's was Leslie Porter. She's moved on to other posts now, so it's now Lindsay Wilson who's doing that at the moment. Our transition coordinator, Marie McGee. Marie, will you stand up just to say hello to everybody? Marie is here, which is great, and will provide some support through this. Susan Gleeson is here as well, our children's nurse. Susan, do you want to stand up as well? And Selina Bello, who's very kindly coming, do you want to stand up too? She's going to run a workshop this afternoon. And Selina's got congratulations to give, because I think you've got going on maternity leave in the next few months, aren't you? Which is fantastic. So, which is great. And then Raj Gupta is here today as well. Raj, do you want to stand up just to say hello so people will recognise Raj? Denise, you're here somewhere, I think, isn't it? Do you want just to say hello?
Hi.
Which is grand. We've got, which is great, and Selina I've already mentioned as well. On the adult side, we've got Denise as well, who supports the adult clinic, and also Karen Morrison. Karen, do you want us to stand up and say who's here as well from the genetic side? And she's going to talk a bit more about the adult service, which we've got at the moment. So that's those. In the children's clinic so far, the service started in 2012, so we're now in the 3rd year. So it's still quite early days. And over this time, we've been seeing, we're now up to a caseload of about 32 children and young people who are attending these clinics. So you can see that the number has gradually grown over time. And in each clinic, we would see probably about 6 young people in that time. So not quite everybody gets seen every year. And that number seems to be plateauing off as older young people graduate to the adult clinic, which Karen will talk about, and then we get some new referrals coming up from the bottom end. Thankfully now, younger people diagnosed, not as old as they used to be, so I think that's good. And then on top of that, we've got some visitors from Malta and Sardinia and other countries who come to the Birmingham clinic, which is really nice to have as well, so you're very welcome for that. We've had feedback from young people and families who come, who've said, first of all, that it's quite tiring having 8 different hospital appointments in one day. So because of that, we've tried to spread appointments out over a couple of days. And some young people have said they want somewhere to chill out or somewhere to be able to relax. And Marie and Rachel have been instrumental in getting to set up a chill out space and some other activities that can be done as well. And some people have said we need to try and visit the adult hospital before being transferred, because it's sometimes quite a big difference to move to another hospital. And we try to arrange visits to the adult hospital for young people before they go to the adult service as well. And then most recently, with Susan at the clinic on Monday and Marie as well, we're trying to develop some computer packages, I think, isn't it, on laptops, and hopefully iPads as well, for some sort of educational learning materials to go, if we can get the print size right. So if any of the young people who came on Monday are here today, or others who can feed back to Marie and Susan about how that works. That would be really helpful, because I think we need to know whether we should be investing in iPads to help with this, or some other bigger screen for people to look at. Is that fair, Susan? Is that what you should say? Okay. So we're going to try and develop the clinic on those sides as well. So I'll hand over at this point to Karen, who can talk a bit about the adult side as well.
Thank you very much, Tim. So I'm Karen Morrison. I'm an adult neurologist, and I have spent most of my career doing research and looking after people with motor neuron disease, so the ice bucket challenge disease, the disease that Stephen Hawking has a rare variant of. And it was a few years ago that Tim asked if I might be happy to set up the service for adult people with Wolfram syndrome. And I thought, but Wolfram syndrome, that's all about diabetes, and that's like diabetes insipidus, diabetes, deafness, eye problems. Why is he asking me? And of course the issue is because as people with Wolfram syndrome get older, it's clear that there are various issues with the brain involved. And so when Tim asked me in 2012, could I start this service maybe with a couple of clinics a year? Last night I dug out the figures to put up on this slide, and I'm sorry that they're so small and you can't really see the numbers, but the bottom line is at the moment we have 39 adult patients with Wolfram syndrome whom we see in the adult service. And initially we were planning something like maybe 3 clinics a year. We're now doing 4 clinics a year, and if you look at the bottom of the slide for the 2015 figures, the figures that are listed not in the lozenges, not with the box around them, are the number of appointments we send out to the clinics. Obviously some people can't come, they're travelling from a long way away, it doesn't suit everybody, so the figures in the lozenges are the number of patients we actually see. And you can see that over the last few clinics we've been seeing 7 or 8 adult patients in each of those 4 clinics a year, which really is the limit that we can cope with for a clinic just in half a day. And the adult clinics at the moment are running for half a day. I don't think we're going to be able to get any funding to run them for longer. So unlike the children's service, where you have the luxury of longer appointments spread over more than one day, the adult service is terribly pushed for time. What it's not so pushed for at the moment is space, and one of the new things that we hope to develop with the adult service within the next 12 months is to move to the new centre that's linked to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital and the University of Birmingham, called the Institute for Translational Medicine, and within that the Rare Diseases Centre linked to the adult services. A similar thing is going on in the Children's Hospital, and you'll hear more about that later on today, but we hope to move the adult services to the Centre for Rare Diseases within the Queen Elizabeth Hospital later this year. And the important thing about that is we should have more space. Yes, we may be able to eke out more time, but certainly more space so that we can develop the services. As you might expect at the start, the first 2 columns deal with new patients, and so everybody was new to the service because it was a new service, so we were seeing new patients. Now it has settled down, and over the last year we've maybe had 8 new referrals in a year, so we're maybe seeing 2 new patients each clinic, and then 6 or 7 follow-up patients each clinic. And more of the patients will be follow-ups, and we hope that they will be follow-ups so that we can continue to see these people and we can both grow old together in the clinic. What else to say about the adult service? At the moment, we have myself, who deals with the organisation of the clinic and various neurological aspects. We have Dr. Williams to talk about the genetics, and the genetic issues are slightly different for adults with Wolfram rather than children with Wolfram, because with children with Wolfram, it's very much geared to what the parents want to discuss with the children. Clearly with adults, they want to make their own decisions about genetics. So it's a different type of genetic counselling that Denise takes charge of for our adult patients. In the past, we've had a psychiatrist, Dr. Peter Bentham. He retired in August, and I'm really pleased that we've got a new psychiatrist, Dr. Rachel Up the Grove, who's joining our service, and her expertise is particularly in adolescent and young adult psychiatry, and I think that she will be a huge asset to our service. Unfortunately, we don't have a clinical psychologist linked to the service as yet, and I don't think our funds will spread to that for the moment, but we'll have psychiatry, genetics, neurology, endocrinology. We've had a few changes of staff over the year, but Dr. Helena Gleeson is our endocrinologist now, who's very interested in both diabetes insipidus, mellitus, and all the various gonadotrophins, all the various sex hormones, and those aspects that Wolfram syndrome involves. So Dr. Gleeson there. As many of you know, people with Wolfram syndrome often get trouble with their bladders and sometimes bowels. And so we are working at the moment to try to get funding for Mr. Bilal, one of the adult urologists, to come and join our clinic on a permanent basis. And I have the verbal okay from the university hospital to say, yes, that's okay, he can join the service. He certainly wants to, but clearly people like him don't have space in their timetable unless something else goes. But we've got the go-ahead to appoint Mr. Bilal to the service, and I hope he'll be here this afternoon to help do a workshop on bladder urological problems in Wolfram syndrome. So he'll be joining the service. So yes, the service will be changing, it will be expanding, and I think it's absolutely right that we do expand over the years that the service runs. The other thing to say is that there is very little experience across the world of caring for people with Wolfram syndrome as they reach adulthood, later adulthood, over the age of 50. And so far, with our 40 patients and another 2 referred, that's 42 patients with Wolfram as adults. I think that makes us the biggest collection of Wolfram patients with adults with Wolfram syndrome probably in the world. And we learn as much from talking to you as hopefully you learn a little bit from talking to us. And I think that with each year, with each clinic, we become more and more knowledgeable about the disease. So it absolutely is moving forward. And just on that note to finish with, I was so struck, actually I should forward the slides. Oh, I haven't said ophthalmology review. At the moment, we don't have an ophthalmologist in the adult clinic because most of the adults we see are very well covered with eye aspects through their local teams. And so we haven't offered an expert eye service in the adult clinic. When we move to the Centre for Rare Diseases, that may change, and certainly one thing I'd like to do is when we get a specialist nurse attached to the clinic is to make sure that we check the vision on everyone who comes to the adult clinic. Tim is going to talk a little bit further about involvement in clinical studies and clinical trials, because clearly having such a large number of patients now attending the clinic, it will be much easier for us now to contact those people should we want to run clinical trials, and we'll have a centre there to run trials. And both Tim and myself have a lot of experience in running trials. At the moment I'm running 3 trials in motor neuron disease, for example, so we're very au fait with the regulations required and how you go about running both later and earlier stage clinical trials. Just to finish, just to say about people attending follow-up appointments and coming year on year to see us. I'm so grateful to those of you who come back year on year to see us in the service. And the logo of Wolfram syndrome, of those lovely colours, of people holding hands, it very much is a partnership between us and you, and that rainbow with the colours. There's light at the end of the rainbow. There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It is a journey, and we're going through it with you. And thank you for all your support for the Adult Wolfram Clinic. And I hope that you can take some pride in thinking you have helped build up the biggest clinic for adults living with Wolfram anywhere. Thank you.